We're going to get started in just a minute. We're waiting for everybody to get on. If you have just joined, if you can mute your phone, sometimes it's easier for you guys to mute it than for me to mute it. As you're joining the call, that would be greatly appreciated. And then we will take questions and answers at the end of the call. All right, I know you guys are busy, so I'm going to go ahead and get started with the webinar. Again, I'm going to have everybody muted, and we will take questions and answers at the end. I am Natalie Van Pelt with Columbus Data Services, and I'm performing this webinar on behalf of National Link. As you guys are aware, hold on, somebody just joined that I need to mute because there's a bad echo. Okay, sorry about that. As you guys are aware, we're going to be your new processing platform, and you are going to need to log into a new portal to view your ATMs. So right now you're logging into the ATM portal on the WorldPay side. Once we do the migration, you're going to be logging into the CDS web portal that you see here. Either later today or sometime tomorrow morning, you are going to receive an email with your credentials. Your login credentials should remain the same. It should be your email address. And then the email that you receive from us is going to be from noreply@columbusdata.net. So if you don't see it, you may need to check your spam or your junk folder to look for it. Within that email, it's going to have your login credentials as well as your temporary password. You'll use that to log in, and then it should prompt you to change your password. If it does, you'll change your password, and then it should also prompt you to answer your security questions. If it does not prompt you to answer your security questions, I'm going to ask that you please come here to the website and go to Account Maintenance and Users, and you'll see a section that says Update Your Security Questions. If you do not update your security questions and you get locked out of the system, you will have to call National Link to have your password reset. So to make everybody's life easier, if you answer the security questions, if you get locked out, we will ask you the security question. If you answer it correctly, you will receive another email from us, noreply@columbusdata.net, with your temporary password, and you'll be able to log in at that point and change your password. Okay, so with all that being said, we're going to go ahead and go through the website. So when you log in, this is what it will look like. It's going to have a welcome screen with your name and your company name, and then it's going to have all the different menu items across the top. And then below that is going to be what we like to call the dashboard. So the dashboard is only going to show you problematic terminals. If your terminal is doing fine, then all three of these tabs should be blank. A dark terminal is any terminal that has not done a transaction within 48 hours. It will pop up on this front screen. A low on cash terminal is any terminal that has less than $2,000. We deem that as low on cash. The last tab is going to be terminal errors. If the ATM is reporting an error, we will put it right up here on the front so that you can see that. All right, now we're going to go through the website left to right. Our website is in alphabetical order. Make sure you have pop-up blocker disabled for our website. When you run a report, it's going to open up another window, and we don't want you to think that the website is not working. It's probably because you have pop-up blocker on and you're not seeing that the report's actually being generated. So again, account maintenance, under user, you can update your own password and you can update your security questions, as we talked about earlier. Next, we have real-time transactions and terminal status. So if you're wanting to look at a transaction that's occurring right now, you'll be able to come here. You can use the drop-down to select your terminal ID, or you can type in the terminal ID if you have multiple, or you can sort this by name and then use the drop-down or start typing the name as well. And you'll select the terminal ID and you'll just click Get Status, and then it's going to show you the location information as well as the transactions that are currently happening. Transactions usually post to real time within about 30 seconds, so it is fairly quick. You should be able to see a transaction occurring on here. It's going to have all the location data. It's going to show you the summary information here on how much cash has been dispensed and how much surcharge has been collected. And so you'll see here, this shows you transaction by transaction what's happening at the ATM, including the last four of the card holder, the sequence number, what network it went through, and then what your current balance is at the ATM. You'll notice up here there's a terminal date and a settlement date. Terminal date is midnight to midnight. Settlement date is 1:55 p.m. Central to 1:55 p.m. Central. Unless you're doing a forced day close, that is the timeline that we will follow for the business day. So if we change this from terminal date to settlement date, and we click Get Status, it should change, and we're right on the bubble, so I'm not sure if this is updated yet. Let me find another TID, actually. Okay, so we're on the 10th now. We're on the 10th business day because it's after 1:55 p.m. Central. So you'll see here, it just shows one transaction so far. So if I change this back to terminal date, it's going to show nothing because terminal date is midnight to midnight, and we're not on the 10th yet. So that's the way the real-time transactions work. So this is for the 9th so far for the terminal date. All right, next we have reports, the ACH reports. If you're wanting to see exactly what's being deposited into your account, you're going to go here. You can select your terminal ID, put in your date range, or if you want to look at a specific date, that's fine. We'll do a couple of days worth. If you have multiple terminals, you can click this button and run it for all terminals at once. And so this is going to show you the cash and the surcharge, what account it went to, how much was dispensed, how much surcharge was collected. It's going to show you the ACH date and the settlement date so that you know exactly when to look for these funds in your account. All right, next we have terminal reports. Settled Reg E report. If you have a cardholder dispute and you either did not turn in a journal or a journal was not sufficient to deem the cardholder we're going to be able to deny their claim, the Settled Reg E report will show you any Reg Es that have been settled. So sometimes you'll get a debit to your account and you don't understand where that debit is coming from. 9 times out of 10, that debit is the direct result of a Reg E. So you'll be able to come to this report, put in the date range 2 days before, 2 days after the debit hit your account and run this report. And you'll be able to see if there were any outstanding or settled Reg Es that would have been debited from your account. So what this report is going to show you is the date the funds were debited from your account, the transaction in question, the dollar amount of the transaction, if there were any fees associated with it. So we would add those two together. That would be one debit coming out of your account, what account it actually posted to, and then it's also going to show you when we emailed you the Reg E notification. And over here, you'll see there's a list of email addresses that the notification went to. So if you're ever in doubt about whether or not you received that notification, you can look here to see if your email address is one correct. And then on the right-hand side, it shows you when it was actually emailed, so you can go and check your emails to make sure you have received it. All right, next we have settlement, surcharge, and transaction summary. This is just going to be a summary report to give you some information about your location, and you can put a date range in. So if I put in from the 1st of the month, it's going to show me how many transactions that machine did each day, how much surcharge was collected each day, the total transaction count, the balance at the end of the day, and how much was settled. So it's just a nice little summary report so you know what your machines are doing. All right, next we have a terminal activity summary report. So if you've got multiple ATMs or even just one ATM, this report will show you the data based on a date range that you put in. And you can click View Reports, and it will show you all of your terminals. So it'll give you the location, name, and terminal ID, how much was dispensed, how much the surcharge was, all the different types of transactions that happened during the date range that you put in, and then it will sum it at the bottom down here. So you do have the ability to export any of these reports into multiple formats. So if you run it in HTML, like we just did, you can export it here, and these are the different types of files you can export it into. If you want to export it into a specific file from the report screen here, you have 3 options: HTML, Adobe, and Excel. So if you need it in one of those other formats, just run it first in HTML, and then you can export it into one of those other formats that I just showed you. All right, next is a terminal list that just shows you your list of terminals, TID, name, address. Next is a terminal status report with cassette balance. So what this report is going to do is show you your entire portfolio at once and what's going on with those ATMs. So if you've got multiple ATMs, instead of going to real time and looking at them one by one, you can run this report. I'm going to enlarge this so you guys can see it a little bit better. And so what this report is going to do is it's going to show you the terminal ID, the name, the balance in the ATM, where we're getting that balance from, when we estimate that it's going to run out of cash, if there's any errors coming from the ATM, the last time it communicated, the last actual cash withdrawal, if there's any money in the reject bin, the balance as of a specific date and time, and then we show you the balance in each of the cassettes. If you have multiple cassettes, we'll show you the balance in all of the cassettes with this report. So it's just a really good report to show you what's going on with your ATMs. Okay, next we have a 12-month summary. So this is really good if you're looking to put together a 1099. You can select your terminal ID and then put in your ending date range. So we're going to do August 31st as the last date, and it's going to show you the last 12 months worth of data. I do want to say that when we migrate your terminals over to the CDS processing platform, we are not migrating any historical data from the WorldPay site. So if you need any of that data, you will need to go download it from the WorldPay site. It will not transfer over to CDS. So we're only going to have data from the moment your terminals start processing with us, which most of you on this call, your terminals are going to be converting tomorrow. The conversion will start at about 4 a.m. Central Time. And we usually have it complete pretty quickly, so between 4 and 5 a.m. So if you go to run this report, you're not going to have any historical data. It's going to be from September going forward. So again, if you need to get any data off the WorldPay site, you'll need to do that. You do still have access to the WorldPay site even after tomorrow, so don't panic. You don't have to run over there right now and download all of your information. You should have access to that site through the end of 2019 and into 2020 so that you'll be able to do all of your year-end reporting and data collection that you need to. Okay, so that's it for terminal reports. Now we're going to talk about transaction reports. We have a transaction detail report with balance. So this one, there's an archive one and then there's a regular one. If you're looking to research any data that is older than 4 months old, you'll use this archive transaction detail report. If you're researching anything within 4 months, you're going to use this transaction detail report with balance. So you, again, can select your terminal ID, put in your date range, click View, and this is going to give you transaction by transaction data, and it's going to show you exactly how much was dispensed and how much was collected. And this right here is what's going to be physically deposited into your account. So this corresponds with the ACH report. It also corresponds with what's being deposited to your account. If you need a transaction by transaction breakdown, this is the report that you're going to use to look at that. All right, next we have a daily transaction summary. So you can select a terminal ID, put in your date range, and this report is just going to give you a breakdown by terminal for the date range that you supplied of what's going on. So it's going to show you how much was dispensed, how much was collected in surcharge, and then it's going to show you all the different types of transactions, withdrawals, inquiries, transfers, denials, etc. And then again, it will sum everything down at the bottom based on the date range that you've selected. So you can put whatever date range you want. I just did the first of the month. You could do an entire month. You could do an entire quarter if you wanted to. All right, next we have the merchant statement. So this is going to allow you to pull a merchant statement based on the month and year. You can run it for all of your terminals. We're just going to run it for one so you can see what it looks like. So you'll see here, it's going to have by date, what the ATM did, how many total transactions, how much was dispensed, the surcharge collected, and then at the bottom, it's going to give you some monthly statistics. So very similar to that daily transaction summary, it just puts it in a prettier format. And it does it a month at a time. You don't get to select your date range. All right, and the last report we're going to go over is the transaction count by denial. So this report actually gives you more than just denials. It gives you the ability to see all the types of transactions that are going through your ATM, but it does show you some of the, well, I didn't pick a good one. Let me try a better one. Let me see. Okay, so it does show you more than just denials. So it shows you EMV transactions, and it gives you the codes for the denials that come across. So you see some of these are NSF, some are actually just approved transactions. So it's not all just denials. It's basically all the transactions running on the ATM for the date range that you put in. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to start unmuting. There are several people that are already unmuted. If you guys have questions and you're unmuted, you can go ahead and ask. I'm going to go ahead and start unmuting. If it gets super loud, I'm going to have to start muting people. We do have quite a few people on the call. So if you have a question, please go ahead and ask that question now, and I will do my best to answer it.
I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so they already migrated a few terminals of mine without telling me that I vault for other people. And then I guess the ones that I own and my customers own are going to get transferred. So it's all going to stay on my same, I'm just going to have one portal for everything? You
should just have one portal. If for some reason you don't see the TIDs, which I'm trying to find them as I come across them and make sure everybody has one portal. If for some reason you don't see all of your TIDs, just let somebody at National Link know and they can get them all in one portal for you. You should not receive a second email from us because our system is set up so that it won't generate a second user ID for the same email address.
Okay.
But as a result, it may not pull the TIDs in. So if you're missing TIDs by the end of today, because I do have the list and plan on working on it as soon as we get off this call, if you don't see your TIDs by the end of the day today, then just email somebody at National Link and we can make sure that they show up in your portal.
Okay, yeah, because if I can't see them, I can't operate.
Correct.
On my phone portal, on my app portal, you know, some things don't work. I was supposed to call an account manager to get those enabled. One more question only I have is there another one of these webinars that I can schedule into my schedule that I can sit in on and actually be at a computer so I can see everything that's going on? Because I didn't have enough notice for this to schedule it.
Yeah, and there's another one today, but that may not work for you. Okay, I'm not sure. Somebody needs to be muted. I don't know who's got all the background noise. Sorry. There is another one today at 4 o'clock Central. If that doesn't work for you, if you could just email somebody at National Link, I'm happy to do another one for you that will fit into your schedule. We know it was kind of tight, and I apologize. I was traveling last week and did not have an opportunity to send them everything in a timely manner to get you guys scheduled.
Right.
So that's on me, not on them. So if you could just reach out to National Link, I'm happy to schedule one for you if you would like.
Oh, that would be great. Yeah, then I can see how it works a little better. I've been using it, but there's a lot of things that are different, and so it's just going to be a learning. Okay, great. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. You're very welcome. And if you guys don't have questions, you can jump off the line. Go ahead.
Turn left on
Okay.
Garden Falls. Then turn right.
You were showing on the low on cash terminals that it shows the balances that are, it shows less than 2,000. Can you go back to that screen if you don't mind?
Yep.
Right. Can we adjust that threshold to be less than 2,000?
You can't adjust it on this screen. Were you guys able to receive low in cash notifications at WorldPay?
Yeah.
By email.
And that's what I want to make sure I get on this one.
Yeah. So if you had it set up at WorldPay, we are copying that over to CDS. I just don't mention it because I don't know who all has access to it, and I don't want to open my mouth and get in trouble. So if you had that ability at WorldPay to receive those email notifications, we are copying that over. We provide those same services.
Great. And there's nothing that we need to do on our end for?
No. You should not have to do anything on your end.
Okay, great. And then you said that you'll be converting our terminals from 4 to 5 a.m. tomorrow. What time zone is that?
Central.
And then also you mentioned on one of the reports that it was the settlement date is from 1:55 to 1:55. Was that AM or PM? I didn't catch that.
So it's 1:55 p.m. Central to 1:55 p.m. If you have a forced day close on your ATM that was forced at the processor level, we are copying those over. If you are manually closing your day at the ATM, you can still manually continue to close your day. So what we do is we look to see if there's been a day close within 24 hours, and if there has not, then we will automatically force the day close because we don't want to hold up your settlement.
I see. Okay, and then the cash dispense, when you were looking at that real-time terminal status, how you said it was 30 seconds, well, it'll automatically refresh.
Mm-hmm.
So
it doesn't automatically refresh. You have to click get status, but within 30 seconds it'll be there.
Okay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That is the current balance. How much was withdrawn on the cash dispense on the left side? The 2160.
So, yeah, that's how much has been withdrawn based on what we have here. So this is based on terminal date of 9/9. So anything from midnight last night until the moment I ran this report. And then this report is in the time zone of the ATM. All of the other reports that you run are going to be in central time zone. So if you're looking at a transaction detail report with balance and you're looking at the time, that's in central time. So keep that in mind if you don't have a sequence number and you're trying to locate a certain transaction.
I see. Okay.
Confusing.
There was one other question I had.
She has to manually check that.
Oh, is there a report that shows how much was filled and the day and time that it was filled?
Not on here. We'll have to get, here's what I need you to do. Email National Link and tell them that you need that, and then they can work with us to get you that report.
Okay, great.
So aren't we just working like with like Greenwich time? Is that really when it's cutting off? Like the 0?
I'm sorry,
The
say that again?
155? The 155, isn't that like on Greenwich time? That's like midnight?
No, it's Central Standard. So it's 1:55 p.m. Central Standard.
Oh, okay. All right.
I've got a couple of questions for you.
Sure.
Number one, the logins. Are the logins going to be given to us prior to you guys migrating them over? Should we have already
It
gotten
should be. We got them early, so we should get them to you today. So as soon as I get off this call, I'm going to be working on getting your user IDs enabled.
Okay. Second thing is phone is. I'm sorry, I came in a little late. Is there a phone app? I see the app Android and that thing up on top, but
yeah,
what are we searching for?
There is a phone app. You can either search for CDS, you can search for Columbus Data, or you can search for Web Tools. Either one of those three should work. I know we were having an issue with the Android app. I'm not sure if they fixed it yet. So if you're having issues with Android, that will be why. Do not log into the app until you have first logged into the website, because if you don't log into the website first, it will not validate your credentials for the app.
Okay. Okay, so you're saying get the, okay.
Yes, you'll use the same credentials, but you have to validate them on the website first before it will work on the app.
Okay. And now we don't have to change any terminal phone numbers, right? Everything is staying the same? The phone
Correct.
Number,
Everything is.
Okay.
Okay, so
I
here's.
had some phone number issues.
Okay, so here is what I will tell you. For the flash cut, you do not have to do anything. The terminal IDs will migrate over. The communications will basically, if they're pointing at WorldPay, we're redirecting them to point to CDS.
Okay.
If your ATM is on a dial-up phone line or on a hardwired TCP IP, at some point, those will have to be redirected directly to CDS because by the end of 2020, WorldPay will not be around to support that.
Okay.
So here's what I will tell you. If you are having, somebody said they're having issues. If you are having comms issues and you have a dial-up or a hardwired TCP IP, we encourage you to point it to us. You do not have to get new master keys. You do not have to get a new TID. You do not have to put in new comms headers. The only thing you have to do is point it to us instead of WorldPay. Because what's happening is it talks to us, and then we have to send it to WorldPay, and then WorldPay has to send it back to us. And sometimes, not all the time, sometimes that transaction is taking too long and it is timing out. So if you are seeing comms issues and timing out, then that is more than likely what's causing the issue. And so and that's only going to be on dial-up and TCP/IP. If it's on wireless, we can redirect wireless remotely. So if you're having issues with wireless, just send an email to National Link and they can get with us and we can make those redirections.
Okay. And National Link, you were saying about somebody asked about the deposits. I've never had that ability to see it through the old portal, what deposits went in. I can kind of see admin login, but not really what was deposited or not. Is that something I've missed all these years?
I don't know what functionality you guys had on WorldPay. I think what she was asking about was cash loading.
Okay, exactly.
Not deposits. Okay.
Well, even cash loading, that's fine. Cash loading, sorry.
Okay. Yeah,
I never had
you guys had
access to cash loading on WorldPay.
Yeah, and so
I'm sorry. I even asked National Link about it to see if I could get a report for that, and they said that was something that they didn't offer on WorldPay. So this is great that you guys can possibly get it on yours.
Yeah, and I just can't authorize it. That's why I think you have to go through them. They have to be the ones that give you that access. And so we do have something that will work for you. I just need to make sure they're okay with relinquishing access because they're the ones that own these accounts, not me. So I don't think it'll be a problem. So
okay,
great.
I'm fairly certain we can get that for you guys.
A question.
Sure.
For significant errors like com reversals or jams, if we're not logged into the system to see that on the main page, or rather the page that you were referencing, does this have an email feature where it could send a note off saying you're experiencing these XYZ urgent errors?
Yes. So if you have that set up on WorldPay, again, we're copying that over. If you did not, then you just need to tell National Link that you want that functionality, and they can add it.
So the only one that we had, at least for my accounts, were below $2,000. We would set up 2 alarms, one for $2,000 and one for $1,000 as far as dollar amounts, but nothing as far as for errors. So that is possible then with your system.
It is possible, yes. And just so you know, we don't have the ability to do 2 different thresholds. Ours only does 1 threshold.
I understand.
So in reference to what he was just saying, I apologize, but you keep saying that, that's something that we can do, just request it. Well, my only question is that I just heard 2 features that are great for productivity for me, but I don't know all the other features that we're not really going over and looking at. Is there something that we can look at, or a place that you can go on the site that could show us all the possible things we can do so we can request it?
So,
you understand what I'm saying? There's a lot of 2 things you said that are great.
So we can see what abilities there are.
I do
what we're
understand
missing.
what you're saying. And the problem is, it's up to National Link what they want to do. So they're my customer, and so I have to respect what they want for their customers. So what I will say is that make a request with them, and we have to go through that channel.
Right, but I guess the question is at this point is we don't even know what the technology offers for us to ask.
Right. Right.
Regarding errors, it says there's an error, but it says like there's an error of 1, and it doesn't really tell you what the error was. And it could be someone got a denial and it's an error, and you think there's an error. So it kind of makes you think there's a problem when there's not.
Okay, so what happens is when the machine sends a message to us, and the machine sends a message as an error, then we report that back to you as an error. So the information is only as good as what's being reported to us. So we don't hard code that, the machine does, and it sends it in the message. And so if the message is garbage in, garbage out.
Obviously.
But I have seen ours, and I don't know if ours are pretty detailed. It usually gives you the error code ID, and then it tells you what that means behind it. So it'll say 33, and then it'll say feed failure, or 191 feed failure. But if it doesn't send the whole message to us, we can't send the whole message back.
Well, it's just on the app. It'll say errors, and it'll say error of 1, and I don't understand what that means. And I've actually gone to look at machines and gone into the journal and found out that maybe it was just an incorrect pin or a denial or something like that. It makes me think I've got a jam or something, you know, so it makes me go off on a goose chase.
Yeah, so one thing that we do is we actually report back a lot more data than WorldPay did. So not everything is necessarily a quote-unquote error, but we're just making you aware and giving you a ton of information so that you can research if you need to. So that may be why you're seeing some of those errors when it's not a true error, which is, again, it depends on how it's coded from the ATM. And if it's coded as an error, we're sending it back up. And so they may have had it where they didn't report any of that stuff back.
Okay, I'll figure it out. Cool.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure that I understood one of my questions that I asked before. You said that the only report that will provide me the time zone of where my ATMs are located is the real-time terminal one. Is that correct?
The one I'm on right now, the screen right now, the real-time terminal status is going to show it in your time zone.
Everything else will be central.
Right, and there's only one other report that's got timestamps on it, which is the transaction detail report.
Transaction.
Everything else is a summary,
great.
so it doesn't make a difference. But that one is going to be a transaction, transaction detail is going to be timestamped in Central Time. So if you know that machine is Eastern, then just know you're looking, if you're looking for a transaction at 4 p.m., you just need to look for the transaction at 3 p.m. on the report.
Gotcha. Okay, gotcha. Thank you.
Sure. Are there any other questions?
No, not for me.
Okay. Again, if you guys have questions, please email National Link. They'll be able to assist you, and if not, they'll reach out to us, and we'll be able to get them answers to their questions. I know some of you are looking for some more functionality, and so what I would do, again, is just reach out to them and ask those questions and say, hey, I understand from the webinar today, CDS has more functionality than what we're used to. I'm curious about what that functionality is. And then that way they can come back and say, try to feel you out and see what all it is that you're looking for, or maybe they can just talk to you about some of the bells and whistles that we have. I just don't want to overstep.
Great.
So I apologize. I have to tread lightly.
Well, if a lot of people request, more functionality, then they would maybe prompt them to do it, allow it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've kind of found that they weren't, they were kind of in the dark about a lot of things when I started. When this happened to me, I would call in and they would say, well, no one else is having your problem that you're having. And I kind of find that hard to believe because, if it's happening to me, it's happening to other people.
Not necessarily. I will tell you that sometimes we're not abreast of it until you call in. Like, I don't own an operate ATM, so I'm not seeing that or feeling it or knowing instantly like you guys are. So, and it's not, some of the issues that you're experiencing are not widespread. We've already converted over 30,000 ATMs, and some nobody experienced any issues, and others had quite a few issues. So it's not necessarily across the board. So I don't want you to feel like that's the case, because that's not what we're seeing.
Yeah, well, they were kind of dismissive that, well, nobody else is having problems, like it was something that I was doing. And out of 5, they migrated 2 weeks ago. 3
nobody
went
was
down.
having problems.
Pardon me?
I said I think it's just that at that point they had not experienced any problems. Again, until people call in, they don't know, and you might have been just one of the first people to call in.
I have some Hercules modems, so they need to be pointed at CDS.
If you're experiencing communication issues, then you can have them pointed to CDS.
And so
but
physically,
we can
I
do
need
that
to
on your
send
behalf.
those.
So
Somehow you can do that remotely?
yes. Yeah, we actually have a list of all machines that are not talking to us via dial-up or TCP/IP, and we are already in talks with the different wireless providers to get them to start migrating things over. So.
Yeah, a couple of my XLs, I had a little issue. I had to change my, I had to change it from LNK-ATM to CDDA00, something like that. And I was told my Hercules wireless modems would need to be pointed somewhere else. So I didn't know how that was going to work. I'll find out tomorrow.
Yeah, if you're having specific issues with those machines, just email National Link that it's on Hercules and it needs to be pointed to us, and then we can work with them to get it to us remotely without you having to go touch the machines.
Oh, okay, great. That's great. The same with like the Excel. Yeah,
if you're experiencing problems, you want to get those addressed sooner rather than later because, you know, it takes a while to migrate all this stuff over. So if you're experiencing issues, we want to make sure we move you to the front. So.
Right. Well, my machines, the ones I own in Vault are probably the only ones on any wireless. Most of my customer-owned machines, they're mostly TCP/IP. So I'm hoping it goes well.
Okay.
Hear from them. People become very hostile when the machines go down.
I understand.
Yeah. So.
All right. Does anybody else have any questions? All right, guys. Thank you so much for your time today. Again, if you have additional questions, please feel free to reach out to National Link, and they will be able to assist you. So have a great day.
Great. Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks.